The thinking system that I'm about to show you will make chess easy and you will stop losing your games. I'm a chess master rated around 2400. I win games, I lose games, but if you understand how I think, you should get better. So, what's this thinking system I'm talking about? It all starts from the first move. They play pawn d4. I'm going to play knight to f6. The guy's 23-37. And what I'm trying to do is get all my pieces out in the opening stage of the game. So, pawn to d5 is basically, putting a pawn in the center of the board, controlling the center. My overall plan, though, is to ensure that I'm able to get all four of my minor pieces out or off the back rank as quickly as possible. So, pawn to c4 was played, and we're basically in a queen's gambit when he plays pawn to c6, pawn to c4, and I'm going to play pawn to e6. This is the queen's gambit declined. Now, I am blocking in my light squared bishop, but there's actually a lot of plans with this light squared bishop. I'm going to be showing you guys, but let's just focus on our development for now. We have two minor pieces developed. These are called the minor pieces, by the way, the knights and the bishop. And the major pieces are like the rooks and the queen. So bishop to g5. Now I'm going to get my king out the center of the board. And the king is castled. Two minor pieces are developed, which means I need to get two more minor pieces developed. He plays pawn e3, and I'm going to play knight e7 to develop my knight. And now I'm going to try to get my bishop in the game. Now, the plan to get my bishop in the game, there's actually a lot of different ideas. My opponent is actually playing all the correct theoretical move as well. So I have to be very careful. But it starts with the move pawn to c6. And yes, like my bishop looks very, very ugly. But this is the whole idea. Once the bishop goes to d3, now I take on c4. And I'm basically forcing the opponent to move the same piece more than once in the opening stage of the game. Now, there's a lot of different ways to play this. There's pawn to b5, bishop to b3, bishop to b7. And then the whole idea becomes trying to play pawn c5. But there's also this move knight to d5, which is very interesting because we're also following one of the principle called the principle of neutralization, and it basically says we don't want the opponent's pieces in our half of the board. So once the bishop takes, now we play queen takes. To take is also a mistake, by the way. So we're not expecting the opponent to take our knight, because if he takes our knight, we're going to be taking with the e pawn, and then once we take with the e pawn, our light squared bishop is going to be developed. Now once they castle, to develop my bishop, I'm thinking of taking the knight, even though to take is a mistake, but my plan is to play e5. So takes, rook takes, pawn e5. And then if the trade happens, I'm fine. So let's do that. And if pawn takes, I'm still going to play e5. I'm not going to lie though. Whenever I play e5, I'm always wondering what happens if they play d5. So let's play e5 here. And I'm basically saying, hey, my light squared bishop is now active. It's not immediately active, but once I move my knight out of the way, I should be able to play bishop to e6. It's going to be a very hard position to win, but it's also going to be a very hard position to lose, unless I blunder. And that's something that you guys also need to work on, because how blunders happen is I notice whenever I blunder, because I play a lot of chess, whenever I blunder, I'm just not conscious about something very particular. For example, I may miss a pin, and I missed the pin because I was just not aware of the fact that, okay, my queen and my king is on the same line. But let's see how the opponent reacts to this. Like, I'm thinking of either pawn to e5, hit the knight. Once the knight move, knight b6 hits the bishop. Once the bishop move, bishop f5, and then all my pieces are developed. That's one plan. If pawn to d5, well, I was about to say knight b6 hits the bishop, hits the pawn, but then there is pawn d6. So probably have to take queen takes, then knight b6. But then there's queen takes, and if takes, knight takes, and I'm down by a pawn, but I'm really not expecting him to play that move. So queen to b3 was played instead, which makes some sense. Because if I play knight b6, I lose the pawn. That's called the drawback principle. So I'm thinking about taking on e5. Take on e5, he takes with the e pawn, hit him with knight b6, rook e1, my queen has to move. Maybe queen f6, knight e5. That should be fine, to be honest. I'm also thinking of just pawn e4, which would force his knight on d2. My pawn on e4 would be a bit weak though, but then knight b6 hits the bishop, and then I'm assuming he's gonna move the bishop. I don't know. It's actually nice, but I just don't like that one. Takes, knight b6, rook e1, queen f6. Yeah, let's actually go with this. This is the simpler way to play it. Like sometimes you don't want to complicate the position if you don't have to. But sometimes if you're trying to win, you kind of have to complicate the game. But I'm assuming he okay, I thought he was gonna take with the E pawn to get the tempo on my rook, but he didn't. So now once I hit the bishop, if he decides to move the bishop, I go bishop e6 and then all my pieces are developed. Otherwise, I'm gonna take the bishop, then go bishop e6. So he pulls the bishop back to d3. Now we go bishop to e6, and I usually play a game with my students. Like whenever I'm coaching them, I'm like, okay, bro, if all your pieces are not off the back rank and your king is castled by move 15, then you've done something incorrect. So queen back to c2 was played, and this is called a batcher, two pieces pointing towards my h6, my h7 pawn. So I'm just going to move it to h6. Also prevents the knight from coming to g5, didn't prevent the knight from going to e5. So that's something that I'm going to have to deal with. But one more thing that I need you guys to keep in mind when it comes to this thinking system is after your king is castled and all your minor pieces are developed, don't forget your major pieces. For example, if your rooks are pointing towards your own pawn, then something is wrong with your position. So now my goal is to just put my rooks on open files, and e8 and d8 are actually the only two files that I'm seeing on the board. So let's just start with rook to d8. It's not really doing much, but it's a file regardless. It's better than being on a8. And then this rook on e8 doesn't do much, but it's better than being on f8. Now, there's a principle in chess that is called the principle of neutralization. It states that you need to be aware of every possible moves. No, that's not the principle of neutralization. That's the principle of limitation, which says you need to be aware of every possible way in which the opponent could put a piece on your half of the board and then try to prevent them from doing that. Let's go knight d5. I'm trying to fork. The principle of neutralization basically states you need to ensure that you try to get pieces out of your half of the board. So queen to b2 was played. Knight b4 I like because it just clearly hits the bishop. And then I'm assuming the bishop is going to go back to b1 or e2. And then I'm going to play pawn a5 and protect my knight. And that's called an outpost, by the way. It's not the most active knight, but an outpost is basically when you have a minor piece that is usually in the opponent's half of the board and it cannot be attacked by a pawn. The thing is, because my knight is not in any immediate danger, I don't want to play a5 and then give him a target with like rook c5. I want to play f6, but then there's a huge drawback to f6. Um, what to play? Bishop to d5 I like, but I'm assuming he wants to play f3 e4. I don't really mind that a lot, but another thing I want you guys to keep in mind is if you don't really have any tactical shot, like if you're looking on your position and you can't find a good way to put your piece on the opponent's half of the board, you don't have a good way to check the opponent's king, take something, or create a threat, this is when you should just try to find one of your pieces that is not really doing anything and just put it on a better square. I'm kind of threatening to play pawn to f6, kind of, because if I play pawn f6, I'm weakening the g6 square. So it's a risk, but I'm just not comfortable with this knight on my half of the board, to be honest. I'm trying to be fast as well. Like I'm ahead by a minute. Usually, if you're ahead by a minute in these games, like that goes a far way because sometimes you're losing, but because you have more time than them, you're able to win or even draw. So I'm just trying not to blunder as well. Oh, and another thing that I want you guys to keep in mind when you're thinking is I want you to think about your moves like 50-50. So the same effort in which you put into this is why I'm going to play the move, I want you to put the same effort into this is why this move could possibly be a blunder, because you have to be humble because sometimes you just blunder out of nowhere. Okay, so the rook goes to the open file. I'm thinking bishop f5, then f6, so that way the knight doesn't go to the g6 square because f6, knight g6 to f4 is kind of annoying. So bishop f5, maybe pawn f3, trying to play e4. Then I play f6. Bishop, okay, that's kind of bad because bishop f6. Once I do that, his bishop gets access to f4. That's the thing. So maybe I have to just play f6 right now. Allow the knight to g6. Play queen f7. Allow the knight to f4. Play bishop. No, queen f7. Oh my god, something is wrong. Because if I move the queen, I blunder the knight. I need to play. Hmm. Bishop f5 or bishop d5. Pawn a5, there's rook c5. Let's go a5. I don't like the idea of a5, but I think I'm going to move my queen sometime. And if I'm going to move my queen, I need to ensure that my knight is guarded. I don't like the fact that I just played a5 though, because it allows rook c5. That's the move that I didn't like. So I'm gonna try to play rook to d5 here to just trade, to be honest, because there's too many pieces on my half of the board now, and I'm kind of getting scared. So rook to c1, I'm gonna play rook to d8 and then just trade the pieces off the board. And then I'm gonna try to deal with this knight. So rook c1, no tactics, go here. If e4, well, if e4, I should be able to take. Pawn to b6 hits the rook, by the way, but then there is a drawback. I'm weakening my c6 pawn. I'm trying to keep up the time, trying to keep up the time, but it's kind of hard when you want to make a move, but you just don't know what to do. Bishop f3, I'm going to immediately take. Rook takes, hit him with bishop d5, blunder my pawn, so I can't do that. Bishop f3 hits the rook. So notice what I'm doing. I'm trying to find the most aggressive move that my opponent may play. In fact, if bishop f3, I'm gonna sack my rook. And if rook takes, knight e5 is a fork. And then once the queen move, I take one of these pieces because everything is gonna be forked. But his time is running. Literally just need to focus and lock in now. And I should be able to win this game. Just don't blunder. That's the thing. Because one of the hardest games to win is a game that you're already winning. Okay, queen to b1, I don't understand. Okay, maybe it's guarding this square. Maybe it points towards this. Takes, rook d5, takes. Yeah, let's do that because not too sure what the whole plan here is. So, and because I have more time than him, I'm fancying the end game here because you have to actually be precise in the end game and you need time to think in the end game. And I have 1.5 minutes more than him. So he took. Okay, if I take with the bishop, there's e4. Okay, I'm not going to take with the pawn, to be honest. So let's just do it. It is what it is. If e4, I'm just going to go back. At least I could say d4 is weak. Now it's easier for me to think about a move like pawn to f6 to finally get that knight out of my half of the board. But okay, h3 is like a waiting move. Queen to g5 threatens mate. Pawn to f3 loses. So I guess he has to go bishop f3. And then knight takes, and then maybe queen d5. Let's try that. We have to attack. This is like the first real attacking move that I played. So 100% sure that the bishop is going here. Maybe f6. Nah, because then after bishop takes, knight takes, my b7 pawn is also unprotected. One more thing that I need you guys to keep in mind, like whenever you have an unprotected piece in your half of the board, you have to pay more attention to it. For example, my b7 pawn. My plan from here is actually to try to play b5 and after takes, get a pass pawn and win. Queen to c1. Why did he play queen c1? Okay, queen b3, queen c5, take the pawn, and then he starts to infiltrate my position. What if I play b5 takes, queen takes? Yeah, let's do that. Let's do b5. Like, I want to play pawn takes, but I'm afraid of queen check. Even though it doesn't do anything, I'm kind of afraid of it, to be honest, because, the fact that the queen is going to be in my half of the board, it could be something. Now, this pass pawn is going to scare him. It may, I think I'm slightly better in this position, to be honest. And I want you guys to notice how I'm not going to say I didn't really do too much, but I didn't really do too much. Okay. Okay. So I want to start pushing the pass pawn. Knight is on e5. Pawn to f6, there's maybe knight here. So push the pass pawn. Queen c4. Now what I'm doing is I'm just trying to see any forcing move that he has and any possible way he could put one of his piece on my half of the board, especially since the knight is already on my half of the board. So queen to a3, that's kind of like a defensive move. Pawn to c5, takes, and I'm losing. Pawn to f6. Pawn to f6. There's no queen check, so let's do that. All right, this is where I'm not going to be as accurate as possible because the time is ticking down. I don't want to play too fast and then just blunder, but I kind of have to keep up the pace. So knight d7 was played. If I move my knight anytime, it allows his queen on my half of the board. So what do I do? Queen to c4 also doesn't work. Knight c2 doesn't work. Damn, what to do? All right, let me try king to f7. Let me try king f7. Yeah, let me just try king f7. I mean, oh boy, I blundered the pawn. Shies. Shies. That's a very important pass pawn. Check. King up. Knight c2. Okay, now I have to go commando. So knight c2 hits the queen. No, knight c2, queen a2 wins the knight. Damn. So knight d5 maybe? Or knight here. Knight back. Knight takes. Damn, man. Okay, I just blundered. I didn't see that. So he's gonna play queen takes, I'm assuming. And I'm just gonna check his king. But okay, let's give a check. I was about to say the good thing is I have more time than him, but that's not true. Position is almost equal. And then I'm gonna go here, threatening this pawn. If king g2, I take. Got him. This is a pin. All right, king. It's not. There's knight f5, and if queen takes, I win the queen. It's still very tricky. Okay, that's a check. Decent check. Have to move. Maybe here. No. Okay. Can't go here. Can't go here. Can't go here. I mean, I could go here, and then if he checks, I go here. If I go here, he goes here, and then if I take, let's try. Yeah, that's so risky. Knight moves. Knight moves. Let's give a check. Go back. That's the third. Go back. That's the third. Okay. Guard the knight. How do I have less time though? Okay, let's take. Yeah, let's just take. If takes, it's probably drawn. It's probably just drawn. Oh, he did that. That. Okay, the position is equal. That pawn is very, very weird looking. Check. Takes. I don't know how he has more time than me. That's weird. Okay, this is now an endgame. So anything could happen here. Okay, so push. If king here, push and I'm winning. Push, we're winning. Opposition. Bang! And then I go here. This is outflanking. That's crazy. Now I takes, king over, gets the opposition, but it shouldn't be enough to draw, I think. Or maybe it is. Let's see. Yeah, triangulation. I'm using every endgame technique. That was called triangulation, by the way. Now I take, and it's over. Now it's actually over. But I need to be fast. Check, push, queen. Please don't stalemate. Good, 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 good. That was crazy. All right, let's try that again. We're black again. Opponent plays d4 again, and the opponent is 23-61. So d4, I like to play knight f6, c4. I could go g6, but let's just go e6. And knight c3, this is called the Nimza Indian defense. I'm still following the principles. I'm still trying to get all my pieces developed as quickly as possible. Queen c2 is the classical way to play against the Nimza Indian. Pawn e4 is actually a very aggressive way to play. Knight f3, I like to play c5, but D5 is also very, very nice. But let's go with C5. I think C4 is the more dynamic way to play. When I say dynamic, knight A6 just threatens to take the pawn. It means it's more risky, but it's more fun. So pawn E3, he's just trying to develop on castle, to be honest. Let's just take on c5 now. Knight e4 is an idea. Pawn d5 is an idea. I'm just trying to finish my development as quickly as I can. So usually once pawn a3 happens, I'm also going to have to be giving up my bishop for the knight. So pawn d5, if takes, pawn takes, or there's b6, bishop b7. Let's go d5 so that way I could say I'm controlling the center. The downside of this is I have an isolated pawn. Like whenever you have an isolated pawn like this, it's usually advised not to trade too many minor pieces off the board because it's easier for you to lose and get outplayed. But let me just finish my development. Bishop g4 here. Yeah, or maybe bishop e6, but let's go bishop g4. My bishop is unprotected, but once he plays a3, I'm going to take. Let's go rook c8, just controlling the open file. Usually, whenever you have an isolated pawn, you have to ensure that you're very active. And you notice what my opponent did? He immediately got his queen off the same line as my rook. So, okay, bishop back, there's b4, b3 takes. Um, queen d7, there's knight e5. So let's just play rook e1. Rook e8. Now look on my position. All the minor pieces are out. His rook is now on the same line as my queen, so I need to be careful. I'm thinking about queen to d7 so that way I'm able to play bishop f5. I'm just not comfortable with the fact that the rook is on the same line as my queen though. If queen d7, there's bishop to b5. So let's just go queen to e7. Don't allow the rook to be on the same line as your queen. If knight takes, I takes. If a3, I takes. Bishop back to e1 was played, which means this is under attack twice. Um, you notice he's not attacking my isolated pawn, so now I have to defend it. Probably I should use the e rook actually. Yeah, let's use the e rook. I just need to be careful. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the most comfortable when I have an isolated pawn, but my pieces are active enough. Like if you have an isolated pawn, at least try to have some activity as compensation. So h3 was played. Let's just pull the bishop back. Bishop is clearly better than the knight. And my plan was to pull the bishop back to g6 and attack the queen anyway. So he's basically helping me. I just really don't want to lose my isolated pawn though. But let's see. If g4 is just bad, I'm probably going to play bishop g6 regardless of what he plays. Knight d4, he wants to trade. I'm not sure if I already said this, but if you have isolated pawn, try to keep as many of the minor pieces on the board. Now he puts the queen on the same line as my rook. So I'm going to hit him with knight e4, which means the knight on c3 is pinned. Nice. With that being said, if I takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, his c3 pawn becomes an isolated pawn. And it's called an isolated pawn, but it's also a backward pawn. So a3, I take. If he takes, he loses the queen. So let's just take on c3. He has to play bishop takes, otherwise his bishop on e1 is that's just a terrible bishop. And now, because this pawn is the target, I'm gonna pull my bishop to a5. And then once the bishop goes to a5, the plan is to play knight e4. And now the c3 pawn becomes the weakness. And in case I haven't said it, it's very important that you guys know what a weakness is in chess. A weakness is basically a pawn or a square that can't be guarded by another pawn. So queen b2, let's go knight e4, hit the pawn. And then I'm assuming he's going to go rook c1. And I just have a very comfortable position here. So let's just play a6 actually. I can get away with a waiting move. This is like a waiting move to see what the opponent is trying to do. But I'm also trying to prevent his knight from getting to b5. Oh, yeah. I forgot to tell you guys. I shouldn't have allowed pawn to c4. I needed to fix the weakness. That's embarrassing. Because that bishop is just such a terrible piece. Uh, okay, let's just pull back, take on d5, and then play queen e5, and then take, which is going to be so risky, but let's do it because I just think my bishop is better than his. I don't want to trade. So now I go here. If knight back, he loses the queen. So he has to play f4, which anybody would tell you that f4 is uncomfortable. And then I'm going to take on d5. Bishop c4 is coming. I need to be careful because if f5, I may lose a piece. I shouldn't have allowed all of this, to be honest. And my b7 pawn is hanging. I clearly shouldn't have allowed all of this. But it's not easy to convert a winning position. So once he plays f4, I just have to take. Assuming he's going to play this, what do I play next? Maybe go back to, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Check. Wait, what? He's just going to allow me to check? I just have nothing? Check king over. Hey, let's do it. Let's do it. Check king over. If I check, there's king up. If I check king up, I have nothing. What? Maybe knight here. Takes, knight takes, check king up takes. Okay, let's try that. I'm currently down by a pawn, by the way, so this should not have happened. If he allows me to check him on d3, then that would be a very funny checkmate, but the rook guards it. I'm also down by an entire minute on the clock, so I do not like this. Check, king up. So I'm gonna take, and after knight takes, check. The queen took another pawn. Okay, I have to checkmate him here because I'm gonna be down by so many pawns. So takes, knight takes, hits the queen, check, king up takes. That doesn't do anything. Bishop e4, takes, takes, doesn't do anything. If I move my bishop, I lose my rook. Damn, am I just losing? Bishop e4 takes. Okay, let's try bishop e4. I don't know what's happening anymore. Apparently the bishop on e1 is doing a very good defensive role because after check king up takes, there's no mate on f2. I mean, there's knight g3 check, but it really doesn't do anything. There's king to g3. If I move my bishop, I lose my bishop. Knight f3 hits the queen, and then if I check, there's knight block. But I have to do it, I think. Check, king up, takes. Oh man. Wait, wait, wait. Okay, let's check, king up, hit the queen, takes, check. Let's try that. Ah, but there's king d3 though. So rook c1 takes, check, king d3. Okay, takes, rook takes, then I go here. And then I check and then I takes. Let's try that. Check, king up, then I take. He's gonna take. Wait, check, king up, I take. Okay, so he moves the knight, which means, wait, wait. Check, king up, here, here, check, king up. Okay, I'm just gonna do it. It's probably losing, but oh, if queen takes, there's no check. Probably should have checked first. Queen takes, check, king up. Okay, I'm just gonna take on f2 with check. No, check, my rook is hanging. Shiz. Check, king up, check, check, king up, check, king up, check. Oh, knight here is also coming. Okay, let's play h5 to not get checkmated on the background. I can't believe I'm losing so horribly. I was doing so well. And there has to be something here as well. Check. If knight up, I check. And then king up, then maybe check. King over, check. Maybe queen d5. I'm sure I have something here. And when the game ends and I check the engine, I'm going to be so mad at myself. Maybe not here, but before. I think he needs to just put something on c2. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or play that. Um, okay, let's just attack the queen. Queen moves. Maybe g4. Hit the queen again. If he puts the queen there, that would be a very funny blunder. I think he has to put the queen here. And oh, fudge! God damn it, man! This was such a horrible game. If I take, it's just lost. I can't trade, so I have to just blunder the knight. Takes, takes. So let's just give him the knight. Queen takes, and then I'm just lost. This was such a horrible game, man. Oh, I mean, he also defended very well. I mean, he's defending. I'm trying to find something, but there's just nothing. He just has a defense for everything. Yeah, let's just move. I mean, I'm gonna resign very soon. I'm just trying to see if there's anything that I could do. For example, if he takes the pawn, then it's just resignable. Yeah, I have nothing. Let's just resign. Good game. I'm sure I had something there. I'm sure I had something. All right, that was very heartbreaking. Let's just See if I'm able to finish off with a bang. This is probably going to be an Italian game. Oh, it's actually a Petra of defense. Okay, how am I going to do this now? Let's play pawn to d4. This is a Petra of defense. I play this with the black pieces. It's actually not a easy line to play against as white. It's not hard in the sense of okay, you're going to lose, but if you're trying to win the game, it's very very hard. But let's see. He's 23.98, by the way. After d4, the main move is to play knight takes e4, and then bishop to d3. Hit the knight. And then usually they play pawn d5, then I take on e5. But this is all theoretical stuff. Like black has a very simple way to equalize. For example, pawn d5, knight takes e5, and then knight d7. But let's see. Let me try to at least play fast. Okay, knight c6 is also one way to do it because if I take the free knight, there's pawn d5, and I'm actually not winning. So I'm probably just going to take on e5, or maybe pawn d5 hits the knight, but there's knight b4. Takes d5. The thing is, I'm just not sure how to react to this. So I'm just going to take on e5 with the pawn. I think, yeah, pawn to d5 is what he needs to do. And then I take, and then knight takes. And it's just equality. Black, it's just white can't just do nothing here. But let me just get my king out the center of the board. He goes bishop to e7. Bishop g4 could be a bit annoying, to be honest. But let me just develop my bishop first. I'm just going to develop my pieces normally. Bishop g4 is still annoying, so let's play h3. Knight b4 is also annoying, so I'm probably going to play a3. But because he plays bishop f6 attacking this, let me just develop my knight to c3. Knight b4 is still very, very annoying. But white just has nothing here, to be honest. So knight b4, I'm probably going to pull the bishop back to... Yeah, he's just developing. The guy's just playing very, very solid chess. There's no possible way for me to put a piece on his half of the board right now, so let's play. No, knight c4 is also coming. Whoa. All right, I'm gonna play knight to d2 to prevent knight c4. It's kind of like a scared move, but I'm just not seeing how I'm gonna prevent the knight from coming to c4. And I'm trying to defend my half of the board. Knight to e4 is also an idea to attack the bishop, but let's see what he plays. I'm never afraid of bishop takes e3, by the way, just doubling up my pawns. Okay, he finally plays one of the moves that I'm afraid of. So he's attacking the bishop. I'm probably just going to play knight e4, to be honest. Because if I pull the bishop back, there's bishop f5, which is annoying. And then I have to play rook to c1. Mm, Knight e4 takes the bishop. Take his bishop. Knight e4 takes the bishop. Oh, damn. Knight e4 blunders. It's kind of embarrassing just not knowing what to do against a certain opening. But let's see. Bishop f5, rook c1. And I should be able to play pawn to a3 and chase away his knight. I'm just gonna try not to blunder, to be honest. And hopefully, okay, so let's go rook c1 quickly. But I was gonna say hopefully my bishop could also go to yeah, fire, yeah, man. There's bishop takes. That's just a removing the guard tactic. And then he takes on a2 and I'm losing. Why am I playing like this today, man? I just lost everything, literally. What's that? I'm down by, oh my God, 3 pawns. Well, if he takes on c2. Oh, okay, so he plays rook to e8. I can't advance with my queen, so I have to play queen to f3, trying to target b7. Maybe if he takes, I then take on b7, but it's just not gonna be enough. It's not gonna be enough, man. If he takes, maybe rook c1, and then just try to win back a pawn. Or maybe it's because I play the Petrov defense, and I think it's just like the strongest opening. It's just so hard to beat. All right, see, he's also not greedy. He's not taking the pawn, which makes a lot of sense. Knight to b3. If he takes, knight c5, maybe just c4. I was gonna lose it anyway, so let's just push it forward and just try to attack his knight. Maybe knight to b3 next. I need to get my pieces active. Like this is losing. This is actually losing. I want to take and take, but then if I take, queen takes, my knight is hanging. It's crazy, man. He just needs to play something like b6. b6, knight here. He has knight takes. Maybe rook c1 and then try to win. Like whenever you're losing, you should just go all out. You know, it's like, because I already lost, so I'm just going to play as aggressive as I possibly can. Queen f6. Now if I takes, he trades the queen first. My bishop is also kind of pinned. Pawn c5. There's knight e4. Takes, bishop takes. Then I go here. Yeah, let's try that. Let's go c5. I'm also trying to play a bit fast as well because I'm losing anyways. So now I go, nah. If I go here, he goes, okay, let's do it. Let's do it. If he goes here, I take. It's opposite colored bishops, and I want to tell you guys that whenever the position goes to opposite colored bishops, then the possibility of drawing the game gets very high, but not when you're down by 3 pawns. Not when you're down by 3 pawns. Let's play f3, hit the bishop, and then just put my bishop on d6, try to attack b7. Queen to d4 check will win my pawn. So that's another reason why I'm going to put my bishop on d6. But, pawn here is also winning. So let's go bishop d6. Rook to e2 puts his rook on my second rank. I'm going to play for some tricks. If rook e2, queen g4, threatening to sack the rook and then mate on the back rank. I'm losing. I have to do it. It also prevents him from checking. But if he checks, I'm just going to move the king. So rook e2, let's try rook g4. And the plan is just to sacrifice my rook. Um, do not be playing hope chess, guys. Oh, did he see that? He saw it. Oh my lord, he saw the only trick that I had. Okay, queen d7 hits the pawn, but then he's just gonna start attacking me. Um, but let's go rook b1 first and attack this pawn. That pawn is not the easiest pawn to defend. Queen to g6 should be a valid queen trade because again it's opposite colored bishops. If you're down by 3 pawns, then you're gonna lose. 2 pawns, you could try to do something. Here, rook to b2, the guy's just not missing anything. If I takes, there's queen takes. So let's go okay, takes, queen takes. Yeah, let's go rook e1. I'm down in material, I can't trade. I'm threatening a fork, but the guy's just seeing everything, to be honest. So that's okay, queen g6, and I lost the game. Embarrassing. Because if I move the queen, I get mate, so I have to trade the queens. God, what can I do? Okay, let's go rook here. Doesn't do anything, to be honest. After he takes, I'm just going to take. And yeah, the fact that he literally just needs to start push the pass pawn up the board. Sometimes I play well. Sometimes I just forgot how to play chess, to be honest, man. Okay, let's take back. And then he needs to play a5 and it's over. The fact that the bishop also defends f7 is even more annoying. Oh my. He's seeing everything. Okay, let's threaten the mate. He immediately saw that. Um, hit the rook. I just have nothing. And then he attacks my pawn. Let's guard it like this. But yeah, the pawn is just rolling. The pawn is just rolling. Push, rook over, push, takes, push, and I lose. Well, I want to take this, so maybe he's going to defend it. Maybe he's going to defend it. The good thing is, my bishop is covering the queening square. So worst case scenario, I'm just going to sacrifice the bishop. I'm actually trying to just play fast. Rook c4. If I take, I lose my bishop. Um, maybe just bishop back. And then he push, I takes. And then he push. Go here, and then he push, and I lose. Well, I mean, it's losing anyways, so let's just do something. Yeah, let's just go back. I'm expecting him. Yeah, he's doing it very well. He's converting it very well because the winning side don't want to be trading in the end game, and he knows that. Oh wait, I think I just won a pawn. Check. Rook has to take. Check. King move takes. Okay, I just won a pawn. Not bad. Not bad. Doesn't mean doesn't mean I'm gonna win. I mean, I'm still down by 2 pawns, but that was the pawn that was pestering me. Now my plan is to play bishop b6 and then try to win this pawn. So he moves the king. The king is just gonna come all the way up here. Oh boy. Okay, let me try to activate my king then. So king up, king up, king up, king up. I have to activate my king. Now he's threatening to take, so I have to do this. Let's not fall for that. And then I'm going to go bishop b6 and then try to win the pawn, especially if he attacks my bishop. But I'm probably going to play rook to e7 first. I don't want it to be too obvious what I'm trying to do. But I mean, I would gladly take a draw in this position. So bishop to, oh, why is he seeing everything? He's going to go bishop to a6 and guard it. So that doesn't work. Um, okay, maybe I should just go here. Oh no, he's trying to do this. Backside. If I allow that, I'm losing. So let's do this, hit the rook, here, here, and if here I go back. The plan is just to put my bishop on f2. If I allow bishop f1, I'm losing and I have to resign. So I go here just to play more moves, and if he goes here, I go here and just guard it for the time being. Yeah. Okay, what to do now? I need his bishop on a6 actually. I don't want him to be tying down my bishop. So rook e7 may force his bishop on a6. Okay, he pulls the bishop back. Let's attack the pawn. We have to attack the pawns. He guards the pawn. Okay, now I'm gonna go here. Okay, now I'm just gonna play. I don't know what's happening. Everything is guarded. So it's actually up to him to find the win here. Okay, so he guards the bishop. Let's just keep moving quickly. We're trying to flag. Let's just keep moving quickly. Bishop E, maybe just throw, oh nah, bishop d4. Hmm. Okay, there's a little trick somewhere here because his rook is on the dark square. Takes, takes. Um, Come on, bro, just play. Why are you taking so long to move? Uh, Yeah, man, just play. I'm trying to sack my rook on g7, then check and takes, but he's just not allowing it. Okay, pawn to h5 is going to be too strong. So let's go bishop e3. So that way, oh, but then if he push takes, rook takes, it's still kind of losing. Okay, I'm going to go rook. Oh boy, I don't like that. Okay, let's attack the bishop instead. Because if takes, rook takes, that's bad. Hit the bishop, then rook d2. I do not like this. Oh my god. Is this mate? Okay, bishop moves, rook d2, check, check, block. He has under a minute on the clock. So my whole game plan is to flag. Okay, let's just move. Let's just move. I'd be so annoyed if I lose this game. So annoyed. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna go in defensive mode for a while. Okay, let's just move the bishop. It's king back. Okay, now he's trying to push. It's fine. Push. Takes. Okay, let's keep this pawn under attack. Oh, it's drawn. Okay, now it's just drawn actually. Hey, I'm not gonna lie. Even though I managed to draw the game, I'm kind of happy because I could have lost this. Okay, now I'm just trying to flag him, which is just not possible. Yeah. Let me just give the guy the draw. This is dirty flag is not the way. Good game.